Hey, so if you're here, you're looking to improve your client or your child's bedtime routine. Probably want to reduce problem behavior and get them to sleep on their own. If this is the case, this video is going to show you where to start when developing a bedtime routine, elements to consider, how to schedule, in what order, common mistakes people do make, and what to pre-teach. Additionally, there's going to be some parent resources available in the description. It's going to detail even further everything that I'm going over today. So stay with me. Hi, my name is Gabby. I am a BCBA, an LBA, and a certified behavior sleep specialist, and I talk about all things sleep. Follow me on Instagram as well, where I discuss all things sleep related, how to improve bedtime routines, how to reduce problem behavior, and how to reduce anxiety around the routine. So when you're developing a bedtime routine for your client, there are some key elements that you need to know before even starting anything. What you need to know and what discussion you need to have with the family is what time will they be waking up each day? We need to know this. This is the starting point for developing a bedtime routine, believe it or not. In order to develop a bedtime routine and know what their ideal sleep time, bedtime is, we need to know what time they need to get up every day. Now, as families go, they're probably not getting up exactly at the same time every day, Monday through Sunday, right? Families sleep in on the weekends, there's vacations, and so forth. But when you're teaching the concept of sleep, and that's what it is, it's teaching the concept of sleep, then we do need to be a bit more consistent. So, this is a conversation you definitely want to have with the family. You want to discuss with them that when we are working on developing better sleep habits, better sleep hygiene, one of the elements is we have to have a consistent wake time. Ideally, it's probably going to be the time where the child needs to get up every morning for school, and the family would just keep that consistent over the weekends. Secondly, you need to know how much sleep the child needs for their age. Yep. So, the sleep needed for a 4-year-old, the amount is going to be very different than for a 14-year-old. So, you need to know how much sleep they need for their age. And then this way, we can then figure out an ideal bedtime for that child. So, 3 things to consider that you need to know are: what's the wake time? It should be consistent every day. How much sleep does that child need for their age? And then that will give you an ideal bedtime to work with. And that's where you're going to start your schedule. So you now have your ideal bedtime and you're ready to start scheduling the bedtime routine for that child. So, what you're going to look at is an hour ahead of bedtime, you're going to start your routine. What that means is there's going to be a consistent cue that starts the bedtime routine for your client. That can be anything, it can really be determined by you and the family, but there's going to be a cue that the child knows, that your client knows, signals the start of a bedtime routine. Things are now changing. You also want to consider the order of the activities that are going to be in your bedtime routine. What are they? And you want to have that order remain the same every single day. Why is that? If the order is the same, then it helps to cue your client or your child on what to expect and what is coming next. Additionally, in your routine, you want to have activities that are calming, that create quietude, that help to reduce the amount of physical excitement that the child is experiencing. You need to have some leisure skills or some calming STEM activities that they enjoy doing, repetitive activities, matching file folders, things like that. Chores are a great way to help calm because it's a repetitive action. Anything that causes calm or creates calm, you're going to want to also include into this routine. On top of that, you want to make sure that there are no screen times in the routine. So, a lot of times, the start of the bedtime routine does include the termination of a screen time. That's great. You want to make sure that you are doing something other than engaging in the iPhone or the iPad. Those screens are suppressing the production of melatonin, which is your sleep hormone. So it's hard to go to sleep if you're kind of jacked up and excited because of your YouTube video or your cartoon that you're watching or a game you're playing. You want to make sure that you've given the body time to move from screens to a calmer state before bedtime. At the end, you want to make sure that you're ending in the sleep space. It does not have to be the child's bedroom, but it does need to be a consistent place where they're going to be expected to sleep. So the scheduling, the actual schedule itself that you are going to develop with the parents, with the family for your client. The thing that you're going to discuss is going to be that we want to consider a consistent order. So the easiest way for a family is to use the order or the activities that currently naturally happen within that household at night. So what do they naturally do? How do they move through their night? That's someplace for the parents to start. And it will be something that they might easily lean into because they're already kind of doing those things. They already have a certain order. Now, if that order isn't going to work, includes like a lot of roughhousing, or maybe they have activities in there that just really amp up the client, amp up this child, then you're going to have a different conversation. But for the most part, parents tend to naturally go through some things at night that help calm anyway. They move to dinner, they might move to a bath or a shower, they might have some snuggle time. So there are already some key elements that are occurring in that bedtime routine that will probably work. So consider the order. You're going to want to create a framework with the family that you're working with that will be what is going to happen and in what order, and that order is going to remain the same every single night. Now, that doesn't mean that the activities have to stay the same. That's different, but the order has to stay the same. So what are they going to do at the start of the schedule all the way to the point of bedtime? Now, you're only feeling an hour. It sounds like it might be a lot, but it's really not. And you want to make sure, again, that the order of the activities stay the same. You may also need to consider the hierarchy. So if the client has a hard time going from preferred to less preferred activities, you're going to need to take that into account. You're going to have to scaffold for your family something in between. So if they're going from a high preferred activity like, I don't know, playing with their dinosaurs, and you need to get them to transition eventually to bath, which is going to be before bed, and that's a little bit of a sticking point, you have probably two options. One is going to be what comes first before that bath that they can transition to that eases them into bath time. The other point is maybe bath time just doesn't occur in the bedtime routine, because if you have an area that is problem behavior and you're trying to create a fluid routine, maybe this isn't something that you want to tackle right now. On top of that, embed some fun. Think of the order as not just going from one ask to the next. Embed some fun into this activity. So if they enjoy puzzles, if they enjoy snuggling with mom and dad, if they enjoy laying on a beanbag with a weighted blanket, or they have some stim items that they like, then include these activities to help fill up the time before bedtime. Again, they should be activities that promote quiet, that promote calm, that don't hype them up. So, but you can still embed the fun. Lastly, when you're thinking about your scheduling, consider supports. Use visual schedules. Use visuals to cue transitions on these visuals to help ease and reduce any anxiety that the child is having as they transition to bed. So when working with families and when working with other BCBAs, there are some common mistakes that continue to come up when we're looking at improving a bedtime routine and improving sleep around bedtime. So some of those mistakes are that the routine is too short. There just isn't enough time afforded to the child and to the family to allow them to calm or to create some quietude before bedtime. So you really do want to look at the length of time. An hour ahead of bedtime should be sufficient, but if it's not, do an hour and a half. There's no need to really probably go above the hour and a half. And if you're going under an hour, you probably have a routine that is too short. The routine still includes a screen time. There are a lot of children who struggle with giving up the screen and take the screen to bed with them, have it as part of their entire day. And so this is something that we're going to consider when we talk a little later about what to pre-teach. The fact that screens are still available in the routine can be a major problem when you're developing your bedtime routine. So you want to encourage melatonin, that sleep hormone, to do its job. It's not going to be able to do its job if it's being suppressed because of the LED lights from the screen. So again, if giving up the screen is a problem for your client, for your child, then that is something that needs to be worked on and pre-taught ahead of time. Another common mistake is that there is really no calming activities included. Some of our clients and some of the children really struggle with leisure skills. So in lieu of leisure skills, in lieu of playing puzzles, having some pretend play, in lieu of those types of things, what can this client or this child do that will help them to remain in a calm state leading up to bedtime? For some of my students, it's file folder games. They are really good at file folder games. They like the predictability. They like the routine of moving the items from one part of the file folder to the next, and that really works. For other children, chores. Some chores that are repetitive in nature, like folding towels, matching socks. Those types of activities can really have a calming effect. Sorting utensils, things of that nature. So don't discount the concept of chores when you're looking at a bedtime routine if you're struggling to find skills or activities that promote calm. Lean into those, look at those. Another common mistake is the lack of consistency. So that can be the lack of consistency with the wake and the bedtime. That can be a lack of consistency in the order of the routine, but just a general lack of consistency, even a lack of consistency with following a routine from day to day. So, families have things that come up, and that can be a sticking point for a family. So, trying to work through that and work with the family so that they can create consistency. Without consistency, we know that developing a good bedtime routine and improving sleep is probably going to be very difficult. A lack of predictability. So this really relates to the child being able to predict what's going to happen each and every time they are being expected to go to bed. So what happens in that routine, that order is important. So being able to predict and to know the order of the routine and that one thing flows to the next every single time allows the client, your child, to know what's coming, to have less stress about what's coming, and to flow a little easier and to learn the routine. Another common mistake would be no pre-teaching is occurring. So a lot of people don't really think of sleep as something you have to teach. It's a skill that we need to teach. How to go to bed on our own, awake, drowsy, without someone laying with us, that is a skill we teach. And pre-teaching some of the elements or sticking points is huge. So do they give up items when they're asked to? Can they follow directions when they need to? Can they transition to different parts of the house? Can they transition from preferred to less preferred activities? Do they understand the visual schedule that's presented to them? Do they have an understanding of what those icons represent? So really think about what you need to pre-teach for your student, your client, in order to improve their functioning and their performance in this bedtime routine. So as you can see, there's really a lot that goes into developing a good structured bedtime routine that improves behaviors around sleep, improves the probability that they're going to be able to go to sleep on their own, and also improves their sleep quality. There's just so much to consider. So this is only one video really that kind of details this stuff out for you. But if you're interested, I have several other videos on the same topic in terms of how to improve sleep, how to get your home staff, if you have any home staff, to support sleep, and how to use visuals during the bedtime routine. I also have another video on how to run quiet-based visiting, which is a technique that teaches you how to have your child in the sleep space without you present. It's a pre-teaching skill. It's done during the day, but it holds great value in terms of improving the ability to fall asleep on their own. So check that out as well. As always, thank you so much for watching. Like, share, subscribe for more. Till next time.